Hi, friends. Welcome. My name is Sarah Jane. Although for this podcast effort, I think I'm going to use my other name, my metaphysical name, which is Aura, Aurah. I'm sure that at some point in this podcast that we're going to get to what that is all about. But for now, let's just say I'm starting a podcast. And, the purpose of this podcast is going to be, I think, a little bit multidimensional. I hope it'll be enjoyable, first and foremost. I do know a lot of interesting people and sort of have a lot of interesting thoughts. I think they're interesting anyway, floating around in my head, different schools of thought. I also think it would be really cool to infuse my consulting business, my consulting practice, I guess, with a little fresh energy. Living Mandala Consulting, LLC is the name of my consulting practice. Of course, I do a few things there. I do energetic space clearings and consultations for feng shui adjustments and organization projects, things like that for your house and home. And I also do other types of consulting, putting to work some of my business expertise, nonprofit fundraising, guidance and advice, things like this. I'm working with 3 or 4, I guess now 4 small organizations at this time. So if you're a nonprofit and you're curious about those types of services, just reach out to me and let's discuss your specific situation. But also I'm excited actually to have a place to express myself, express my thoughts, express stories, express ideas, in this type of liminal space, using just my voice. For many years, I worked for a prominent media company, I'll just say it that way, here in town. And I loved my time there. I left on very good terms, so I don't have anything negative to say about them. But, part of the challenge of that position was that company basically owned my voice. Do you know what I mean? Like, my voice was loud, it was proud, it was prominent, it was all over the North Texas area on television and on several radio stations. And at some point I realized that I didn't really have a voice for much of anything else. And that really, it struck a deep and terrifying chord within me, right? And so, a year and a half later, I left that position in January of 2022. And so here we are a year and a half later, and I'm like, oh, I would like to have my voice back. And so here we go. It's going to be a new adventure for me. Ideally, it'll be a new adventure for you. I don't sort of really know what I'm doing with this, except that I'm going to make a commitment to record and release something every Tuesday. And as I get my sea legs and as I figure out, all the different places these types of things need to go, I'll let the appropriate channels know. So how's that? I don't really have an email list. I don't really want to bog people down with incessant communications. I think I just want to have my stuff be on the appropriate platform, accessible, and those who are in the know, those who follow my Instagram feed under my metaphysical name, Aura, you'll also know, that every Tuesday there's going to be something released. And I've chosen Tuesday actually for a really specific reason. First of all, I was born on a Tuesday. So if you look at my, astrological natal chart, born on a Tuesday, born on a full moon, I was born at dawn. So the idea too would be, I think, that I, post this every Tuesday morning, if possible, from wherever I am in the world. But also, I'm a child of Mars, for better or for worse. I've got a lot of Scorpio in my chart, and I've got, just a heavy Mars tendency. So I'm going to lean into my Mars tendency, and I'm going to release these on Tuesdays for those reasons. So, in this first episode, I guess I just wanted to kind of, acquaint anyone curious, about the types of topics I might, be speaking about. Please know that this will be for fun, again, first and foremost, but also to hopefully infuse a little bit of energy into my consulting practice. as well as, just share interesting things that I know. I'm going to want feedback because, I also don't want to be yammering on about something that nobody gives a hoot about. And so, some of the topics might be feng shui, it might be, space clearing, energetic space clearing. I think we're going to naturally get into some astrology, just because I'm in formal training finally for this. After years and years and years of studying on my own, I finally see the value and the need for getting a formal training under my belt. And so anyways, astrology will be a natural topic. I suspect we'll talk about my 100-year-old house and just like the care and feeding of that situation. Of course, I'm married to a musician. Music could easily be an adjacent topic here very quickly. I write, and, I've got some things that I'm writing, some projects that I'm drafting. And so, I might speak about those at some point, but really it's just a form of expression. And, if you know me, and you know me well, then I hope you'll join along. If you don't know me and you're just like hearing my voice for the first time, well, welcome. Let's see what happens. So here's our little baby episode. I think when I post this, wherever it is I post this, I will be perhaps putting up a little poll, some sort of a poll, if you don't mind taking just a minute to vote on a few things. I think that would be a fun way to get some initial early feedback. And, I've got some ideas for some series that I could roll out over time, like a 9-part series on a particular topic or a 4-part series on some other topic, that kind of thing. So I think I might post a few of those ideas, just to kind of put a little dipstick out into the world and see where I should start, or where, anybody is listening so far and would actually take the time to give me feedback where I should start. I think, getting into my background and some of my former hats that I've worn could be interesting, bring a lot of strange intelligence to a wide variety of, sort of interpenetrating topics. So we'll see what happens. I mean, the title of the podcast, I think, says it all, Living Mandala Podcast, and Living Mandala sort of, it's the name of my consulting business, but, it really comes from that Hermetic quote, as above, so below, as within, so without. There's an elongation of that quote, but that essentially says it, that there are these dimensions of ourselves and dimensions of outside of ourselves that are all sort of oddly connected and, in a mandalic form that sort of extends out in and out in all directions from us. We are each at the center of our own personal universe, right? Our own personal sort of vantage point and our own personal bodies, our own, immediate housing situations, our own immediate little rabbit trails that we take to and from our homes and to our jobs and to our favorite grocery stores and the bank or wherever, right? We all have our individual hopes and dreams and aspirations, and ideally we collaborate with others. Ideally we commune with others. Ideally, we're not doing these and living these lives in our own isolated, lonely boxes. Ideally our living mandalas sort of interconnect with other people's living mandalas, and in some cases we share a mandala. I share this mandala here at my house with my husband and son while he's home from college. And of course our cats, right? So, we each are the center of our own living, pulsating, vibrant, alive mandala. And so, this is a living mandala, and this is my living mandalas. This is my living mandala podcast, right? So, this is a place from which to sort of explore themes around that, from this particular vantage point, from my metaphysical name, Ara. I think that's key. I think that I've got to own that in order for this to be done well. And so, no apologies, honestly, if you know me by the name Sarah Jane and you've known me by the name Sarah Jane my whole life. It's my name. It's my birth name. I'm still on my driver's license. I'm not going to get away from that name as long as I live. But, Ara is this name that I initiated myself into back in 2016. So, Aura is not new to some of you, but I've been living with Aura since the year 2016 with this name, with this label. It is a name that I use for creative projects, for writing, for, various activities of that sort. And so it's now the name that I would like to use for this podcast. Thanks, friends. I can't wait. It's going to be a journey. Mwah. Peace out.